In this video, we will look at the top 10 signs that you have anxiety. Anxiety is a normal part of everyday life. For example, we may feel anxious on a first date, during an interview, or when speaking in public. For some people, though, anxiety takes over their lives to the extent that they almost always feel anxious to a greater or lesser degree. If you are feeling anxious in situations that would not normally warrant being anxious and overly focus on one or more issues, for example what other people think of you, then you may have an anxiety disorder. Statistics show that half of people who have a generalized anxiety disorder suffer from some form of insomnia. Some anxiety isn't generalized at all, and it is usually attached to a specific thing, which is usually irrational in nature. For example, some people fear crowded places. The hallmark of a generalized anxiety disorder is when we worry excessively. Sally Winston, co-director of the Anxiety and Stress Disorder Institute, makes a clear distinction between normal levels of anxiety and a generalized anxiety disorder. The distinction between an anxiety disorder and just having normal anxiety is whether your emotions are causing a lot of suffering and dysfunction. Muscle tension in your jaw from grinding your teeth, or throughout your body as a result of flexing your muscles, can be a sign of anxiety. Anxiety often manifests itself in the body as a physical symptom, one of which is chronic indigestion. Public speaking is difficult for most people. For people with anxiety, it is infinitely more difficult. The fear is so strong that no amount of coaching or practice will help them out of it. People who have social anxiety often feel very self-conscious in social situations. Panic attacks can be terrifying, the sensation very uncomfortable, as if you are having a heart attack or as if somebody is squeezing your heart. Reliving a traumatic event over and over again can be a sign of anxiety, more specifically post-traumatic stress disorder. People who have generalized anxiety disorder and OCD often doubt themselves. Don't let anxiety ruin your life. Reduce your anxiety in 7 days or less with our free video course. To get access, click on the link below this video.